Tomorrow is the most dangerous word in the human language. Not because it is a lie, but because it sounds so reasonable, so responsible, so full of promise. Tomorrow feels like a door left open, like you can always walk through it whenever you are ready. But the truth that most people never face is this: tomorrow is not a place you arrive at. It is a direction you keep moving toward without ever stopping to plant your feet. And the saddest part, most people do not realize this until tomorrow becomes the story of their entire life. Today, I want to share with you the story of one man who learned this truth the hard way, a man who was not lazy, not foolish, and not without dreams. He simply believed, like so many of us do, that there was always more time, that the right moment was always just one more day away. This is his story, and if you listen carefully, you may find that it is yours too. In the small town of Drevlow, where the morning smelled of sawdust and river water, there lived a carpenter named Oren. Oren was 34 years old and known throughout Drevlow as a man of extraordinary skill. When he touched wood, something happened. Neighbors said his hands seemed to understand the grain before the chisel did. He could look at a rough plank and already see the table, the chair, the frame inside it. People came from neighboring towns just to admire the few pieces he had made years ago, pieces that still sat in the homes of the wealthiest families in the valley. Everyone in Drevlow agreed on one thing: Oren had a gift. Oren agreed too. That was part of the problem. Because when you believe your gift will always be there waiting for you, you stop treating it like something fragile. You stop feeding it. You start trusting that it will survive on its own. Like a plant you forget to water because you are sure it will be fine until tomorrow. Oren had a workshop at the edge of his property. A good workshop. Tools his father had left him, a workbench worn smooth by years of honest labor, and shelves lined with pieces of wood he had collected over time, waiting to be made into something. Every morning he would walk past that workshop door, glance at it, and think the same thought. Tomorrow I will start the cabinet for the Feltner family they asked 3 months ago. Tomorrow I will finish the rocking chair I promised myself I would build as a gift for my sister's wedding. The wedding was last spring. Tomorrow I will begin designing that storage chest I told the merchant on the high street about. He stopped asking. Tomorrow became Oren's language. Not out of cruelty or carelessness, Oren meant every tomorrow sincerely. He felt it. He believed it. He went to bed each night with the genuine intention of waking up and finally beginning. But morning would come, and there would be a reason to wait. A small errand, a conversation at the market, tiredness from the day before. The feeling that he was not quite ready, not quite inspired enough, not quite in the right mood to do justice to his talent. And so the wood sat on the shelves, and the workshop door stayed closed, and the days kept moving. The turning point came not with a storm or a tragedy. It came quietly, the way the most important moments often do. One afternoon, Oren walked through the market and passed the home of a man named Stellan, a furniture maker from a town 2 valleys over who had recently opened a small shop in Drevlow. Oren had heard of Stellan but had never paid much attention. Craftsmen came and went, but that afternoon, Oren stopped walking. Through the open door of Stellan's shop, he could see a cabinet. A beautiful cabinet, tall and clean-lined, with inlaid edges and a finish that caught the light like still water. Around it stood 3 people Oren recognized: the Feltner family, the same family who had asked Oren for a cabinet 3 months ago and, after weeks of waiting, had quietly looked elsewhere. Oren stood in the street and watched them run their hands over the wood with wonder and satisfaction. He watched them agree on a price. He watched them shake Stellan's hand. He walked home slowly. He sat on the steps of his workshop and he did not move for a long time. He was not angry at Stellan. He was not even angry at the Feltners. What sat in his chest was something harder to name. It was the feeling of watching your own life be lived by someone else, of realizing that the opportunity you kept promising yourself had not disappeared into thin air. It had simply gone to the person who showed up. Stellan was not more gifted than Oren. Oren knew that. What Stellan had done was begin. That evening, Oren went inside his workshop for the first time in months. He lit the lamp, he ran his hand along the dusty workbench, He looked at the wood on the shelves and felt something shift inside him. He did not feel inspired. He did not feel ready. He did not feel the surge of motivation he had always been waiting for before he started. He picked up a piece of oak anyway. The first week was difficult. His hands felt stiff and unfamiliar. The work felt slow. There were moments when he sat back and wondered if he had waited too long, if the gap between his ability and his ambition had grown too wide to cross. But he kept coming back the next morning, not because he felt ready, because he had decided to stop waiting to feel ready. He finished a small shelf in the second week. Nothing remarkable, but it was done. It was real. It existed in the world instead of only in his head. The merchant on the high street saw it through the window one afternoon and asked about the storage chest again. This time, Oren said, "I will begin on Monday." And on Monday, he began. The chest took 3 weeks. When it was done, it was one of the finest things Oren had ever made. Not because he had finally felt inspired, but because he had finally learned that inspiration does not arrive before the work, it arrives during it. The merchant placed it in the front of his shop. People stopped to look. 2 orders came in the same week. Over the following months, Drevlow began to rediscover what it had almost forgotten about Oren. His workshop door was open now, most mornings before the town had finished waking up. The shelves were empty and restocked, because the wood was finally becoming what it had always had the potential to become. The rocking chair for his sister was late, very late. But Oren made it anyway. When he delivered it, she ran her hand across the armrest and looked at him with quiet understanding. He told her it was overdue. She told him it was worth it. Oren never became the most famous craftsman in the valley. That is not the point of this story. The point is what he lost in those years of waiting and what he reclaimed when he chose to stop. He lost time, he lost contracts, he lost the version of himself that could have been further along. Those things did not come back. Tomorrow is generous with many things, but it never returns the days it has already taken. What Oren reclaimed was something more important. He reclaimed his own story. He stopped being a man defined by what he was going to do and became a man defined by what he did. Here is what I want you to carry with you after this story. The mood you are waiting for is not coming before you start. The confidence you are waiting for is not coming before you begin. The perfect moment you keep imagining is not waiting quietly around a corner. It is being built right now by the people who decided not to wait. You are not behind because you are not talented enough. You are not behind because the world is unfair. You are behind because tomorrow has been borrowing your days and you have been letting it. Start today. Start small. Start imperfect. Start tired. Start uncertain. Start with shaking hands if you have to. But start. Because the only tomorrow that will ever change your life is the one that begins with what you do today.